Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Let's Cover Keria. This week, pretty standard stuff. There was only one series this week, Wolf, that went 2-1. Every other series went 2-0, and the way that we expected. There was a couple of matches that were way closer than what we thought, mostly involving T1. However, a pretty straightforward week, but we will start with T1. They've got the big news out of the League of Legends sphere. Keria has re-signed through 2029, following in Faker's footsteps and continuing this journey on. I got to see that over at Homeground. They debated the audience and waited till the very, very end of the Homeground celebrations because they play the match, and then afterwards the players come out and like play games with the fans and play games with uh like charades and stuff like that. They sang a little bit, and then at the very end, they play like a goodbye video and a thank you video of Keria throughout the years, and they let it hang for about like 10 seconds in black. Before then, they start playing some more video of Keria big moments and trying to figure out what he wants to do, and then he shows up in the center of the stage with the spotlight on him and the contract in the middle, and he signs the contract in the stage. It was pretty awesome, both in terms of how it was done, but also the fact that the greatest support of this era, if not one of the greatest supports of all time, continues his journey on with this T1 roster.
It's pretty insane, right? Especially considering Kerry has had a lot of huge offers in the past, especially most notably the Hanwha Esports offer that was pretty heavily leaked and reported. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that that was a possibility. That I think it was back in 2024. He was considering moving over to Hanwha Esports, but ultimately did not. And then we know now that Zeus went over, and obviously Gumayushi moving into this year. It's crazy to me because he's obviously right now at the peak of of the five T1 players on that roster. Like he's the one who's like at peak form right now, and no one else is really firing on all cylinders at the same time. And we got to watch his performance this weekend be at the very top while then signing at that moment, which was pre-planned from a long time ago. It had been actually pretty heavily leaked that he was going to be announcing this re-sign as well before the event. But ultimately, I think people were still really excited about it. I think people were still really hyped by it. I thought the way that it was done was very cool. I do think that, when you're in a position like T1 is, where you're the most popular esports org in the whole world, you have been for a really long time, it's kind of hard to like one up yourself. Like it's kind of hard to actually make these moments more cinematic than just tweeting, right? And I think doing this at the home ground or home stand or whatever it's called this time, was actually really cool. I like that they turned it into almost like a BlizzCon reveal E3 type, like hype moment where there's like a teaser, you feel a little bit debated, and then you're like, okay, that's so exciting. He's obviously a very popular player. It all lined up. Like it's kind of one of those things that I feel like straight up, if I'm being honest, only T1 could pull off. Like only
Yep.
this fan base could pull off. But
Yeah.
they did it, because they could have just done as they've done many times in the past, just tweeted it out, and it would have gotten tens of thousands of likes, and it would have been all over the front page of the internet. But they took it to the next step, which they didn't need to do, but they did for their fans, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. I have to tell you, that 10 seconds, you could hear all the fans murmuring, and there's like the huh, what, but multiply that times like 10,000. It was, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Maybe if you were at the theater watching the Avengers, the first part, and Spider-Man dies, maybe that. Sorry, spoiler. But other than that, like I don't remember a moment ever being like that. And to get to watch that with some of the T1 brass who knew it was coming it was pretty awesome. Keria has been the best player this year. I think this is a good question here, Wolf. Has he been the worst player on the team at any point? I don't remember a period where ZOFGK, then DOFGK, and definitely not now, where he's been the worst player. Maybe
I can only
maybe
think of
he's
one
cooked a little bit too much. but
I can think of one specific moment, like
okay.
exactly one specific moment. You guys have probably seen the clips. That one Bard ultimate where he ruined his entire team's combos around Baron. It was at like that one exact specific moment where he let the Bard ult fly that he was the worst player on team.
Yeah,
And then,
but
like, I
other
don't know,
than
the
that,
only other time I think of, like, literally these moments, these fleeting moments where I'm like, Keria, this was a rough one, was when he played Ezreal support. Like, that's the only thing I can think of in recent memory where he played Ezreal support, it totally bombed, and we were like, yeah, we didn't really think that was going to work, but it was a cool try.
yeah,
That's really, like, the only times, and I mean, I know your question is really more broader, like, throughout a split or a
yeah,
round, like, during an era, would he have been the worst player? And I really just can't think of any moment where that's true. Obviously, he and Guma played in tandem a lot, and sometimes when they were both having a bit of a struggle in the bottom 2v2s, or, Faker was struggling, so they couldn't play their same style where they would just dive constantly. There were a few hiccups here and there, but the same way that people criticized Owner in the past, or obviously Doran more recently is being criticized, or Faker who's having a really rough time getting solo killed a lot, and specifically the Azir Kali matchup. The way that people talk about those players right now, I feel like Keria has never been in a conversation like that since he moved into T1. And frankly, honestly, with his time in DRX, I can't really remember a time where he was criticized like that. He has been pretty much the most consistent support player since his debut in the LCK. Like even Beryl, we all know Beryl, who ended up getting a world championship back in 2020, was like obviously considered to be a great support player, a little bit of a crazy person. But even though Beryl ended up, winning a title in 2020, and he was a bit of an eclectic, crazy, mad scientist support. I don't think that he ever really reached the fame or the heights that Keria reached when he started to peak and did really well on champions like the Thresh, obviously. And after joining T1, it was just like from then on out, he was just constantly heralded as the best and the most consistent, biggest champion pool, craziest champion pool, craziest plays, highlight plays, etc. And that just still remains true, like since his T1 start to now. I don't think anyone has surpassed him. Duro, Lehens, we've had players in the past like Delight suddenly rise up and at
yep.
periods of time be considered equal with or maybe slightly better than Keria, slightly more on form than Keria, or the meta suits them better than Keria. But Keria has just been permanent.
Yeah, yeah. I second that fully. The only player I can think of is Owner, who might be more consistent, but Owner has been the worst player at periods, including the beginning of this year. Like he was struggling at the beginning of this year. That's why some of the fans were calling for Painter, which was insane to me. However, I think if we frame it, has he ever been the worst player on the team? I don't think he's ever been the worst player on the team for a round. Like, yeah, if you say round, I wouldn't say that ever. So Keria continues the journey for 3 more years. They're on their multi-title winning streak. It'll. I'm interested in seeing. Not that. Maybe you can help me phrase this. I'm interested in seeing how this roster will respond to losing a Worlds, because they haven't done that in such a long time, and then they've, backed it up by re-signing everyone except Doran. And will it be okay? Like, did they lock themselves in without realizing how long they were locking themselves into if losses started coming in? I don't know, but if you're T1, you're ecstatic.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like the way I see it is, I mean, most people are looking at Faker's contract length and term end to be potentially like at least the realm of when League of Legends and LCK will continue to no matter what. And people are basically feeling like, I would say probably us included, that the LCK will at least continue to the end of Faker's contract, right? It's not going to shut down or downsize in any major way. I mean, it could, I suppose, right? Obviously, anything could happen, and crazier things than esports related things could happen. South Korea could be in a major war or something like that, would shut down esports entirely. But my point is, it basically means that for the knowable LCK, Keria is on this roster, right? And so that is for him a huge choice because he knows his value. He's definitely considered his other options. and he just likes the way that the team atmosphere works even in their struggles, because he's made this choice after obviously a world championship, but several world championships in a row, but coming off a very recent one. And he's like, yeah, I like the way things are going. Now, the timing of this signing, it's not the greatest point for T1, right? They're currently at 5-3 in the standings. Last year at this point, they were at 4-4. So, it's not like this is unheard of. Like, they have had rocky starts in the past. But he's the shining light. So he's got to be feeling pretty good about everything that's going on around him. But there's always, I guess, going to be in the back of your mind, what if this is like the end of Faker? No one can replace Faker. Faker signed until the end of Noble LCK. How is that going to work for me? Is it going to be okay? Like, maybe he thinks about that stuff, but I honestly doubt it, because we're seeing Faker have a dip right now. We've seen Faker has so many dips and then win world championships just a few weeks later. This is a little bit earlier than we've seen it in a while, so that's a little bit concerning. Normally Faker has that, towards the summer split, a little bit of a drop off, around the second round, and then makes the run through playoffs and makes the world championship happen. But Keria being locked in this roster for T1, it's great. For Keria, probably exciting, probably at high value, probably a little bit nerve-wracking to make that kind of heavy commitment to potentially end your career on this roster. But for me, like, as an LCK pundit, I'm kind of both happy for this org, because they have the longest standing core of really any League of Legends history, or League of Legends team in League of Legends history. But it also means that we get a little bit less of the, like, Guma move to a different team, Zeus moves to a different team. They both move to the same team, which is also, like, to me a little bit sad, because I wanted to see, like, what happens when the T1 team splits apart, because we've seen almost every other team split into pieces and see how that goes, and sometimes rebuild some of those pieces, like in the case of KT bringing aiming back onto the roster. So it's been a whirlwind of emotions for me, but I do think that, like I said, the most interesting part of all of this was how much of a spectacle they made it, and I really champion that. I think more orgs, if they have the chance to try to get even close to something like this, they should take their opportunity to.
Yeah. We'll dive into more T1 and a little bit of a Faker dip after this, which is, we got news for you. Literally. This Thursday, the last free nation is doing our next step by creating the LFN Herald, our free weekly newsletter. It's the fastest way to catch up on everything happening across the network in esports, plus our deep dives in film, TV, and gaming. It's one email every Thursday. So subscribe free at herald.lastfreenation.com before the first issue drops. You can also find the link in the YouTube description and pinned comment below. This should be a awesome opportunity for you guys to stay involved with everything we're doing here, because we're growing fast, and a lot of you here in the LFN community, you guys are esports fans. You like what we like. You like the products that we use. It's just all there so that you can be like, oh, you know what? I do have a little bit of time. Let's dive into some of the newest nerd culture here, and watch Doa and Monty dive into that. Or some films that I want to get into. I'm kind of bored watching the same thing. Boom, 4 plays ready to go. Maybe that new game that you're not sure you want to get, they got you covered there. So make sure to check it out. The Herald, the LFN Herald, our new free weekly newsletter. Go sign up for it. It is the next step that we've got here at LFN. Thank you all for supporting us, and we'll continue to give back to you. All right.
Check it out.
So T1 did have their home ground, Wolf.
Yes.
It was great. It was I got to go on Sunday. The stadium super red. The homie Chrissy came out. We got to hang out after her performance there. She sang Legends Never Die, and it, like, on the beat drop, like, panned to Faker doing his walkout. It was pretty awesome. But and the stadium yet again filled with every seat that T1 could fill was there. However, like we saw in the broadcast on Saturday and on Sunday, the Bros and BNK FearX not quite able to fill it. Bros apparently were giving out tickets for free. They're giving out jerseys for free. And BNK FearX, they filled about half. They had about half, and their fan zone was really cool. They had a special jersey, just like the Bros did, to sell there as another baseball collaboration. It was cool. But uh, kind of like what you said with the Keria signing, T1 being able to fill a stadium by themselves feels like a T1 thing. Gen.G, they can do it. Maybe not Inspire, but when they had their Homeground, they can do it. And maybe Hanwha, because the power of Gumayushi and the core of that squad and the success that they had. But it's just rare, this moment in time that we have where we have the most popular esports team in the most popular esport in the most popular time for it. It I just wish that more teams would be able to do that and cultivate what T1 has, but they are just the industry leading org here.
Yeah, and it's great because T1 haven't made any big blunders since the takeover and rebrand, right? From moving from SK Telecom T1 to T1. A lot of people didn't like that rebranding initially. They didn't like the new logo. Like there were a lot of growing pains there. I mean, how many Joe Marsh dramas and debacles have we had? Like, sure, it hasn't always been like easy. And yet the fan base has just continued to grow, right? And they've been able to make this roster really feel like a family. I know it sounds like I'm shilling, but ultimately, like dGon is saying, like this is what every esports org in the world wants to be. And like T1 is like, this is the floor, by the way. Like we want to be even more than this. And they're constantly pushing the boundaries like no other team is. And obviously because they're the only team that has the ability in this massive fan base to push like that, they can. Which is why you would be surprised to find out that, T1 has a ton of smaller esports teams in the entirety of like the esports sphere. Like they have an Overwatch team, for example. Like people might not even know that because they know that they're so popular, they can put their brand on something and instantly make it popular. They know how to cost efficiently run those teams. And, they're so global now. Like T1 was just a Brood War team when they were SK Telecom T1, then a League of Legends team. And that was it. Those were the only teams they had. And then since then there was like, for a brief moment, I want to say, before they became T1, when they were still SK Telecom, they like signed a foreigner Hearthstone player, I want to say. And they had like experimented with doing some other stuff overseas with fighting games, maybe for a brief moment. But then once they became T1, they did a lot of that stuff, right? And then they were extremely global, and they were no longer just a kind of elite Korean team. They were a powerhouse global marketing machine.
Yep.
And this explosive growth can be felt obviously much stronger than maybe you guys can feel it wherever you're watching this podcast from in Korea, where they were already that insanely powerhouse dynasty driven SK Telecom that then became this global fandom. That because you had the hardcore SK Telecom fans, right? But like Monty had to blow his whistle at the at the World's Finals to like get people to know. You know what I mean? It was still taking a while for the West to be like, hey, this team seems to be pretty cool. This team seems to be pretty legit. But now it's just something different. And how does like BNK FearX get to that level? Like how do they do it? It takes a lot. It takes a lot.
And that's, I think, specifically that team, because they're the ones that went to First Stand, right? We're like, okay, success. Maybe we'll breed some fandom, breed some following. Diable's kind of crazy. Kellen just Kellen. You had these characters that you can build off of, and maybe that'll ripple down the line because they did go, but it definitely wasn't apparent at Homestand. Of course, a lot of the fans that I met there, which thank you for coming to say hi. They said hi, Wolf, to you as well. They came from Taiwan. They came from Hong Kong. They came from Singapore. You had a lot of the international diaspora that were there, which is closer to the airport, which Inspire is close to the airport, pretty far from Seoul, where Lol Park is. Not a lot of great transportation because it is a resort and a casino / arena. A lot of the other like arenas, sporting arenas in Korea are near some sort of train station, right? A basketball arena, a football stadium, baseball stadium, they are all near train station. This one's not. So I give a little bit there, but just the international reach and just how much further ahead T1 is, and then what they have to do to pull the rest of the teams forward and share to allow that, maybe try to share some of the growth so that they can host this type of event is interesting. I've always been an underdog kind of guy. I like the underdog story, very American to me, very, immigrant of me, I would say. But this is getting to see what it's like being the big dog. This is what it's like being the front runner and trying to share that with others while still getting yours with events like this. So T1 are still trying to push the boundaries across different ways for league, different other industries as well. It is an exciting time to be a T1 fan. And then when you talk about the team itself, to lock down 4 of the 5 members through the next 3 years is really cool. It is just a good time to be that T1 fan.
I think
Final
there's
thoughts
some.
on the on
Oh,
this
yeah.
part here, Wolf?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think there was some misses for me on the homestand from someone who was not there, like someone who was watching online and commentating online. I think that it came across on the stream, which is still the majority of the people watching. You have like a 10,000 person arena, but you have millions watching online. Um, the biggest miss was the fan chants because the non T1 teams like didn't have any organized way to set that up. And I think if you know that if you're T1 and you're the fan and the TOs, I don't even want to call it TO, but like if you're the event organizer, the event planner, you should expect that the fans would be drowned out and or need some sort of direction to do their fan chants. And so on both matches, I was casting the first one, I was watching the second one from home. It felt like the fans of BNK and of Bro didn't really get to have a moment, and I think they could have very easily just gotten someone from either the org or gotten someone from the fan group or somebody to get a pre-recorded thing out there that they could blast through speakers at least to give, because at some point, like if you are T1, this is my last point on this. Like if you are T1 and you are the biggest org and you are doing these events and you're playing in, especially like a team like Bro that's notoriously small fan base in Korea compared to its fan base overseas, you are just kind of setting yourself up to be like, I am the greatest and I am the most amazing, and then I pushed my like finger on an ant and it died and everyone cheered, and it's like, okay, well, there's no fandom like pushing back if the games are not close and like it's just all a bunch of T1 stuff, then eventually like even the T1 fans will be like, well, I don't even know if I want to go. This kind of is not even worth it. Like if it was T1 versus Gen.G there, obviously there'd be a lot of pushback. There'd be like a lot of like rivalry. There'd be a lot of people, getting angry. And they've had these before. They've had the telecom weather before, but in this particular one, it was a little bit less tense, right? In the gameplay,
Yeah.
which we'll get to in a moment, but outside of the gameplay, felt like a little bit like, and it doesn't even matter there's another team there. Who cares? It's just yay us. From the stream, it came off across that way.
Definitely. So BNK FearX did do their fan chant, and it was hearable, but it was just the T1 chant, Hana do set T1 fighting. Like the announcers did it, and so it was way louder and prolonged. Like he held it out. The announcer, whoever did it, held it out. And then after that, BNK did it, and it was loud. It just wasn't mic'd up, and it wasn't. There's just no way that maybe 500 to 700 people can stand up to the other 13,000 people that were there. It's a 15,000 capacity. They had seats opened up for, cameras, and then obviously the BNK FearX side who didn't fill it out. But I agree with that. However, when we take a look at the opponents that T1 have played, it's been KT in the first homestand where KT did show up. They did have their cheerleaders too. That was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. No,
And
that
I
was
think that
that was a totally different vibe. That was a totally different
yeah.
vibe than this for me.
And then last time it was Gen.G and Nongshim. Gen.G, they did their fan chant too because I sat in that section. It was a little weird.
I mean, the Gen.G
And
was
then
epic. The
obviously
Gen.G one was actually epic because that's their main rival, right? That's
right.
going to be the epic one always.
But I agree with that. One more thing, and we can lead into. Actually, we can just lead into it now. is that because it's so red, all the lights are red. When you take a picture in my camera, if you go through, like my camera phone, it's like, oh, here's me outside, or I'm with my fiance, or I'm at the studio. Poof, red. It looks like you're in hell. Like there's just a section of your pictures that are all just red and you're real. It is so daunting. Like I think of maybe not the bro roster because they had Gideon who's done it before. They've had Teddy who's been there before. You had Roamer, who I think that was probably the one that maybe got affected the most. Maybe casting got affected the most. But that BNK FearX roster, you're just getting swallowed up. Every mistake, every misstep, every missed shot, 10,000 people are jeering you. Like, that's different than Worlds, but like really getting to experience that, and the lights are red at Worlds or at MSI or at First Hand, you're on the stage, you know, the lights are there. So, oh, Baron gets taken, it's purple. Oh, like a Drake gets taken, turns that color. You're in red. And every time you fuck up, you're just getting it. It must be so hard to perform. And if you're T1, you are accustomed to that now. And their newest player, guess what? He's won MSI. He's won LCK. He's not phased by that. He's phased. So I think it's just so tough to win if you're BNK, if you're Bro, maybe if you're the SOOPers, definitely Nongshim. It's only KT, Gen.G, Hanwha, and maybe Dplus now because they got their core there that could stand to this kind of pressure. But like, it is such an undeniable advantage, and more importantly, a disadvantage for the opposing team because of how big it is.
Yeah, and people always, whenever I brought this up in the past, it's so funny. I've talked about this in esports when you're the underdog team across so many games. You know, for example, StarCraft 2, when I was casting Pro League, it was the same Brood War guys moving into StarCraft 2, and some of those matches like SK Telecom versus Jin Air Green Wings. You know, it's like, well, the Jin Air fans are a little bit smaller, right? Like they're not as large. Even at times, you know, casting like some of the non-endemic Kespa orgs like Prime, going up against like CJ Entis, it's like, well, you're going to get wrecked in this song in terms of the fans. Like, you know, you're not going to be as popular. But like in this type of situation, especially T1 versus Bro, it's like its scale is just not there, right? Which is why I brought up all that stuff about like as a fan watching at home, it did feel a little bit like, you know, puny ant takes on like, you know, the superhuman like god, like, you know, it's not even a contest. You know, there was the Ati thing, by the way. I want to call that out just real quick. The Ati versus FearX, what's the Nex is the name of the mascot, I believe, the big eared fox. They did that for like a second. That felt like an American sports event, like the little mascot off thing that they did. That was really cool. Stuff like that, I'm like, yes, okay, you're doing it right. Like I like this. This is smart. This is good. I don't want to say they didn't do any of it, but what I was going to say is when I talk about this in other esports, I mean, I've commentated games with like Runaway versus No Name Team in Overwatch, and the Runaway fans are more. When I mention this, people are just like, but the players can't hear that. They have soundproof headsets on. I don't think that bothers them.
No way.
It's so funny because yes, in theory that like we've talked about this so much, Monty and I have. When you wear the soundproof headset on, like you can't hear things around you. Generally speaking, obviously, like in any detail. And like in my experience of wearing them, by the way, because I've gone in the booth and worn them, where they're blasting white noise as well. Now there's no booth for this type of event obviously anymore. We got rid of booths for League of Legends long ago, but you have a sound blocker that's basically like what people wear in helicopters, so they can't actually, you know, they don't get their ears damaged while they're flying a helicopter. So it's very difficult to actually hear anything in any detail. But when you look up, you know, if you die, if you get solo killed and you look up, there's no denying that there is a reaction that you could feel. The ground is shaking. You can feel it. You can know it. And even if you didn't feel the ground shake, and even if you didn't look up, like how can you be so blind as to like trick yourself unless you're like some sort of insane, you have like the mental fortitude of a rock, like to be like, no, they're not cheering for Faker when he solo killed me. Faker was the one who's getting solo killed in this series, so maybe bad example, but you know what I mean? Like if you had gotten solo killed, right? Like if Owner kills Raptor in the jungle and you're Raptor, you know everyone's jeering at you, you know everyone's screaming, you know that. It's got to be in the back of your mind. And so, like, I think it's undeniable the impact that this has. I agree with you.
Yeah.
If you're T1 and you're struggling and the crowd is silent, that also could affect you, you know, and
Yeah.
that did happen a little bit over the weekend as well.
Not as much as when they actually lost to Gen.G, but yes, or KT. But yes, let's dive into that big news out of the bros, which was something surprising, I would say, Wolf. Bromer back in, Loki out. Not a lot of substitutions can be made on that roster. 2 mid laners is one. Honestly, after signing Loki, I thought both would be gone. Fisher left, re-signed with another team. I think it's in the PCS or LCP that he signed with. And I thought Romer was gone too. Romer, great talent, couldn't really stick with it. And you get Loki, now a veteran, did international or had a lot of success with Cloud9, moved back home because of burnout and wanted to be closer to family. Didn't have a
Wow,
great start to the season after their win. And
just
since
checking.
then, rifled off 6 in a row.
I was just saying, just checking. By the way, you mentioned Fisher. You piqued my interest because I was like, I thought he still was. No, he officially left in March. I didn't even
Yep.
that like went under the radar. He's on Detonation Focus Me now.
Okay, yeah. See, I knew it. See, LCP, I got it. I wasn't sure. I wasn't 100% it was Detonation Focus Me or the other team. It's like Deep Cross Gaming. I think that's the other D team in the PCS. But either way, he did move on, and I thought they had let go both of them. But Romer is the new Bulldog. He is your solo queue, highly mechanical, finds ways to win in the 1v5, 2v5 setting. He gets put in, and it's just lambs to the slaughter. That's what you're thinking. It's like, okay, here's the new kid. He didn't even, probably get to scrim this week because Loki played the game earlier. And he goes in and has a fantastic series. The bros have a fantastic series. They lose both games in honorable fashion. Kind of more indicting on T1 than it is bro, but also solo kills by Romer, massive TP flank by Romer that we were kind of teasing. He's like, oh, well, we're going to wait forever. Not sure. Oh, shit. The flank actually happened after about a minute of waiting on the top side on the Akali. Fearlessness and just falling to the T1 magic, honestly, both times. Nexus hit there at the very end by Doran in game 1. And then showing some grit, hanging around for a while after a pretty terrible early game in game 2, and then eventually falling after a big team fight. But the bros found something there that was lacking since their win against BNK FearX, Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, Romer looks pretty good. There's no two ways about it. You know, it looks like he's spent enough time prepping and getting ready and grinding to be ready to try to give it another go. And obviously got the Akali counter pick into Faker, and Faker had 9 deaths, which was the highest he's ever had on a single champion in a single game in his career. Never had 9 deaths before, which is crazy. But like, it's not that crazy. Like, most pros don't hit 9 deaths in a season. Like, you know, it's really rare if you die 9 times, even on like elite support. Like, Ask Namgung had 7 deaths in that game as well. But the the way that Bro played the early game was really good, and they made some big improvements to their decision making. And maybe that's part of Romer joining the squad. I don't feel like I saw that in comms. Like, I don't feel like I saw him being suddenly more vocal than Loki. But, you know, he played very confidently. They played very confidently around objectives. They made a few mistakes at the end of that game, and like you said, in game 2, there was a decent lead there for them as well. It does feel like if Bro were like 10% better of a team, though, they would have 2-0'd the series. And that's wild. But I think that even the T1 fan would agree that that was way too close for comfort. Like, this shouldn't have happened. And it wasn't bad drafting per se from T1. It was just that they got punished, especially by in the mid lane by Romer, which is, you know, the crux of this conversation. Romer's Akali looked really good, kind of Daystar-esque, right? In the Daystar's re-debut, I should say. He pulled the Akali out early and was playing it in the same matchup, and we're like, okay, this definitely has some power to it. Romer looked really, really good though on the Akali, and actually looked like his aggression was both at the right time, but also measured enough to continue to put the pressure on. I kind of felt disappointed walking away from this series because even though I predicted T1, and everybody predicted T1, and like we all basically got perfect 10 out of 10 weeks this week because there was no mystery. I kind of felt robbed. Like bro was supposed to win. Like this was the day where we were supposed to. Like I've been saying for so long that bro's better than people say. You know, like they're actually pretty good, but they can't finish it off. I was watching this, being like, see what I mean? See what I mean? And then it's like, no, Wolf. See, everyone was looking at me like, see what I mean? And I'm like, oh, damn it. Okay,
2-0,
yes,
nothing to see here.
I do feel I feel sad for the bros because they're starting to get to the point where like, you know, play-ins is not in reach. You know, if this type of trend continues where you can't close out games like this, like you should be able to close out games like this, in every case. Otherwise, like there's not even a point in getting a lead if you can't win the game like this. Like casting was so good on the Renekton for so much of that game.
Doran!
Yeah, it's not okay. It's not fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, T1 made some plays at the end. Faker, despite having 9 deaths, had a good moment there at the end as well. And it is what it is. But I know the bros have more in them. Casting also lost on Rumble, which was like, you know,
that was brutal.
It's brutal. It's not great, but because I was ready to contextualize this series as I was commentating it as like we were all worried about T1 a little bit, but we always. But losing to Bro here after all the other losses would have been like, okay, what's really going on? And then we kind of walked out of the series being like, well, they barely won, so everyone will forget about it when they win tomorrow, and then we'll move on. But what about that really dangerous moment? What about that really scary time where Faker had 9 deaths and they almost got beaten by Bro? Maybe we won't remember it in 2 weeks, or maybe we'll be like, that was a symptom of like what's going on now, and T1 are on, you know, a 4-match loss streak, you know, in 3 weeks' time. But it's hard to know. But I don't feel like I walked out of the series feeling satisfied either way. The bros almost impressed me, but couldn't do it, and T1 barely won and didn't look dominant either. So I walked out of the series feeling like, did anybody win? You know, is kind of my takeaway. Because your expectations for T1 are so much higher, they didn't meet them. And then bro, the expectations are so low, and then you're like, wow, but they also couldn't get over the finish line. So it was a terrible feeling after those games.
That's a great description. No, I felt the same way. I mean, I predicted T1, but obviously I was very happy and proud of the bros. More importantly, Wolf, and you can just go with me here on this, songs drafting and the teams drafting, game 1, that's what you need to do. Roamer on Akali, casting's like, I'm a Renekton guy, I'll play that. Guess what? We're going to first pick Ezreal, boom, and Namgung, save the Elise for last. Like, you're not going to beat T1 straight up if you're a worse team. So pick comfort and try to make it awkward for them, and they did. And I thought that was awesome. And then I think the standout in game 2 is Roamer on the Annie. He just did his job. He needed the rest of the team to follow up. Namgung on Leona, 095, not so good. But other than that, I guess 273 on the Elise, maybe not so good all the way around. But either way,
the Morgana just was such a great pick for Keria. The Morgana was insane. It was insanely high value in the lane, so powerful into what HANJIN BRION had put together. And yes, like had Keria not hit all of his bindings, or had he spell shield at the wrong time, or had maybe someone been out of position so much that like one spell shield was nowhere near enough because of all the CC and all the dive that they had between the Vi, Annie, and the Leona, and the follow-up from a million miles away with the Misfortune and the Rumble. Like the draft was amazing for HANJIN BRION, but then the Morgana pick was like, I handle all of that, by the way.
Yeah.
And so like it was just another one of those strokes of geniuses from Keria, where you walk out of the series going, wow, he's done it again. You know, it's like one of those things in your mind where when you see the Morgana get locked in, you're like, oh, it all makes sense. Why didn't I think of this? And most people don't, especially in the LCK. Most people just go, well, what range support can we get here? What's left? And Keria's like, I'm playing the off-meta one that does exactly the specific thing we need in this comp. And by the way, I'm going to pop the fuck off with it too. I'm actually going to have an amazing game.
And came up with it within the 30 seconds that draft allows you. So I think a lot of the time we say, we forget the stresses of draft. Like the time limit, the remembering all the fearless bands now, and then piecing it together based off of what has already been picked, and Keria slotting that one in perfectly to lead to the win. So the bros, good draft, just not quite good enough for T1. I think from a analytical standpoint, you and I both agree, not to the normal degree that they are at. However, just being there and then seeing them afterwards, and we'll dive into BNK FearX next. It's just some mojo building. They're a mojo team. This is a mojo organization. This is what they build the whole fandom on and what gets it going. And those were some mojo ass wins. Like hitting the Nexus as you die and you get the victory in game 1 against Bro,
Dramatic.
or being down as far as they were against BNK FearX in game 2 against the most aggressive AD carry in the league on Yunara against Yunara Lulu. And it was getting late, and they still found the angles. Raptor was popping off. It was big dogging. I was like, oh, they're going to use big dog over at the global broadcast. And just somehow, yet again, they find the fight they need. Owner comes in and engages at the right time. They kill everybody, and then all of a sudden, BNK FearX's lack of world championship acumen shows itself, and T1 battle their way back in. Those are the types of wins that a team can propel off of. And that is actually what T1 did against Gen.G and then after Gen.G last year. At homestand, they beat Gen.G, and then all of a sudden they were the team to beat and got back into the conversation when it was a Gen.G Hanwha Life Esports 1-2 clear as day, rounds 1 and 2 of 2025. So I don't know. The BNK FearX match, what did you see in that for both squads?
I thought there was some cool ideas in the drafting for BNK. Like we saw them to Fury Lulu in game 2, which was very powerful. They had the counter pick for Faker's Azir, which they left open because they knew Daystar likes the Akali. Like that was very face up. He had a great game into Faker again. Faker had another tough time on the Azir in this matchup. And I think if anything, Faker probably needs to consider banning Akali if they're going to be looking for the Azir pick at this point. Or at least working on the matchup in scrims or something like that. It's not that we claim Faker doesn't know how to play this matchup. He's probably played it more than almost anybody, but it wasn't a great look. It was a little bit weird. The Aurelion Sol was so unusual, and I think that people forget, like the way the draft in my mind was supposed to work was, especially with Diable playing the Ezreal, is you kind of 4-1 it with a dive comp. So it's Aurelion Sol gets resets on his flight when he gets a takedown, and it gets free Q as well when he flies. So basically what you could do is if you end up getting a pick with Diable and Kellen and Nocturne going on top of somebody, the Aurelion Sol like resets and then flies and burns somebody down, and like he has the slow with his Rylai's and you just can't get away from it. He just gets another kill, he gets a reset, and he flies through the fight. Because a lot of people just think Aurelion Sol, he do big stack, he put big slow on ground, and then they explode when the health goes low. But like actually Aurelion Sol is an insane threat, and it has insane chase down power. So I thought the dive comp they built was really cool. It just never got off the ground because only Daystar was able to be relevant in the game, and he alone can't get it done on the Aurelion Sol, even though he had a great laning phase into Faker. So again, creative, cool, nice idea, but execution a little bit lacking. I think BNK don't have any real big draft problems in this series. They just have execution problems and laning problems. Like the bottom 2v2 for Diable and Kellen and DePaze and Keria was disastrous. Like they got gapped both games basically, and the Lux game was it was crazy. And Keria saved the game multiple times with his binding. He got the 2-man binding in the mid lane. We got to the later parts of the game. It's stuff like that we were talking about earlier when we were talking about Keria having this great weekend and then getting the re-signing announcement at the same time. It was just everything was lining up for him. And Keria is one of the only players who'll play Lux in the whole world, and he did it again, and he popped off, and he got player of the match, and everything just went everything went like not according to plan, but as you'd expect if you're a Keria fan. You're like, oh, he'll get it done. He gets it done. He'll get POM. He gets POM. And he got to walk out. You know, in that scene in your mind where after the match, like the team goes behind the curtain and like they're carrying somebody on their shoulders. Like Keria was the one who's getting carried on the shoulders of the other players, right? Because he was the one who popped off. He was the one who carried the series.
Yeah,
I don't have POMs. I don't have any notes for BNK here that I didn't have for them like last week or the week before. But they had cool drafting, and T1 was better. It's more about, again, like the other parts of T1. How's Doran doing? What's going on with Faker? What's going on with Faker is the real question that we kind of have to leave T1 with before we do predictions for next week, which is it just this weird matchup that he's struggling in, or is it everything else? Because he was kind of struggling to the Aurelion Soul a little bit, and then the Anivia worked out okay eventually, but a lot of pressure on him, and he did have a pretty rough early game.
Yeah.
It's not just this weekend, but this weekend was the weekend where you looked at it, and I was seeing a bunch of people tweet about it. Everyone's like, how sudden is Faker's form going? Like, whoop. Like there was some warning games like over the last 2 weeks, but this was like certainly quite a dip in performance. So I'm hoping to see a bounce back from him, and I think we probably eventually will, but might be holding the team back a little bit for the time being if he continues to play like this and continues to blind Azir with a Kali open, because that's also been a consistent pain point.
Yeah, I think checking in on Faker, checking in on Doran. Doran had an okay series. He was okay. I mean, the casting thing in game 1, but he eventually stabilized and scaled because he was playing Aurora. I think those are good points. I think the solidification of Pays and Keria as a aggressive bot lane and now figured out their identity there. I like that. That's good. I think a big takeaway for me is the inverse on the opposite side. Diable and Kellen not as locked in as they were last year, and as I gave them credit for this year. I think they're the liability. For a while, I thought it was clear, and then my boy Raptor was having a stinky beginning of the split. They've subbed out Vikla. Daystar is doing okay, but I think this game makes me mad because if you pull out your Joker card, which I'm a big fan of when you are the underdog, and you have the Ace-Hole, and you just fucking punt away 4 kills to the bot lane so your Nocturne can't do anything. It's this Ace-Hole can't do anything. You can't function. You can't function this draft. This doesn't feel like a draft issue. This is your strongest part of your team. The identity of BNK FearX, which is Diable and friends, is not diabling. They're not doing it because of careless mistakes or being too aggressive at the wrong time. And we saw this once they in LCK Cup Finals when they made it there to Hong Kong. It's starting to get too sloppy for a team whose heights that we know they can reach. And I wish that they had a little bit more of the whip now for Diable and Kellen to get their shit together, because they have an opportunity now with a struggling T1, with a struggling Gen.G. This is the time, if you're a Rise Group team, to strike. And you have the parts to do so, but not the discipline functioning as a 5-man unit to do so. So that one made me a little bit more frustrated compared to the bro draft and the way that executed and the way that they lost there.
Yeah.
And then in game 2, just there was that moment where Diable, I think there was a fight. It was a 3 for 2, and then Diable just, I don't know what he saw. He dashed back in to Keria. Keria binds him. They clean up, and then they ace, and that was it. It was later on. It just didn't. It's not making sense to me. It's not making sense to me on someone who wants to see the BNK FearX project succeed, who wants to see Diable succeed. Those were kind of a couple boneheaded plays. And it was, the first one happened so early, it kind of didn't allow the rest of the game to play out. The second one happened later on so unnecessarily when they're the scaling team. Those are the, So that's how I felt about those two, Wolf.
I do agree that Diable is not, and Kellen to a lesser extent to me, but my expectations for Kellen are, I mean, he's just Kellen, right? Like he's had some good games, but I put more of a burden on Diable because he is supposed to be the guy. This team has been trying to play around him like he's the guy, and he's just not hitting right now. And it kind of feels like ever since Raptor had that big overextension game where, you know, he went for those stupid dives, it almost feels like someone is telling them to play a little bit more carefully, and they're kind of just fumbling all of it because of it. Like they're still being aggressive, but like not in the full Hanwha Esports way. And then Diable is like trying to be aggressive at the wrong moments, but he's otherwise like trying to keep himself on a leash the entire game and not actually having the impact he used to, especially in the 2v2. So somebody just doesn't feel right. But it does feel like obviously some of this is a symptom of the fact that Daystar doesn't have that much experience with this roster just yet and doesn't have the best decision making just yet. How can he have the same decision making that Vikla had? Vikla had hands problems, not brain problems, not like decision making problems. So I don't know, man. I basically want to put BNK in the category of there's still some chance that they could make a run through playoffs and go to Worlds. So, like I still want to believe that they have that capability, but I'm kind of tempted also just to put them in the seeded in 2027 box where I'm like, it's not happening. Like you're not going to the finals. You're not going to road to MSI. You're not going to MSI. You're not going to Worlds. You went to Hong Kong and that was where you peaked. It feels like I'm almost ready to put them in that box. I'm not fully ready. I still think there's a chance. Like there's still a path to Worlds. I'm not saying you're winning the World Championship, but like KT last year, surprised a lot of people. Go to Worlds. Maybe something happens. Yeah. Maybe some magic happens. Like I still think there's something there. But if this kind of keeps looking like this for 2 more weeks, then I am going to put them in the never mind. See you in 2027 box.
Yeah. I needed to get that one off my chest too, because you look at 2 bottom teams in Bro and BNK FearX, and the way that they lost felt very different. And because as we showed with our predictions and the results, it was such a predictable week. We are going to talk about losses, good losses and bad losses, and I feel like that was kind of a damning loss for BNK. Another team who had a massive week was the Noodle Boys? Were the Noodle Boys. Was Nongshim. There we go. They had a big prove it week in terms of the games that they had. They started off the week, I believe it was against, was it KT or Hanwha?
It was Hanwha.
Oh, it was against Hanwha.
Yeah, Hanwha Gen.G.
They played off against Hanwha, and then they had Gen.G at the end of the week. We'll dive into that after we remind you about our friends over at Raycon, where this message is sponsored by Raycon. Now, with Mother's Day coming up, I love my mom and my future mom, my mother-in-law. It's a great time to get a gift that actually fits into your mom's everyday life, whether she's going for a walk, running errands, commuting, or taking a quick phone call. Raycon's Everyday Earbuds Classic are a great option. They've become a go-to for everyday listening. With active noise cancellation, they help block out background noise so she could stay focused on what she's listening to, whether that's music, podcast, or a call. Everything sounds clear and immersive, which makes it easier to stay present and enjoy those small moments throughout the day. It's a thoughtful Mother's Day gift that can fit easily into her routine. And honestly, it's also a great pickup if you want to grab a pair yourself. And right now, you can grab them for 15% off. Now, Raycon's Everyday Earbuds Classic is packed with upgrades. They've got the active noise cancellation, multi-point connectivity, so you can pair it with 2 devices at once, and a super comfortable ergonomic design that stays put no matter what you're doing. Obviously, bam, got mine. Wolf talks about his all the time as well. I love him, and I love this pink color more than Wolf's boring black.
I got the boring black one. Sorry. What do you want? I don't know. Maybe I'll get pink next time.
Yeah, join me with pink. It's just the rose gold is pretty awesome. But the kicker is that Raycon delivers the same premium audio as the big brands, but at half the price. And with over 3 million happy customers and a 30-day happiness guarantee, there's zero reason to overpay. Now, make sure you grab these and use them. I use them at the gym, use them on the bus. Got the awareness mode, all the different pieces of technology packed on in there. And they fit. Just as simple as that, they fit. A lot of the time, people will bring around the bulky headphones because they don't want it to fall out while they're at the gym. When I'm at the gym, I'm doing my heavy lifts. I'm running. They stay in. They got multiple different sizes. It's been awesome. Plus the 32-hour battery life with the case and the quick charge function. 10 minutes of charging gives you 90 minutes of playtime. There's no reason not to get it. So celebrate the moms in your life and grab one for yourself as well by heading on over to buyraycon.com/LCK to get 15% off of the Everyday Earbuds Classic. That's buyraycon.com/LCK to get 15% off the Everyday Earbuds Classic. Thanks to our friends over at Raycon. Okay. Now, Nongshim, the Noodle Boys. Not a surprise, Wolf, because this week went the way that everyone predicted, except me predicting Bro against Dplus. The angle was there, but the team play was not. Nongshim, they fall 2-1 to Hanwha, made them work for it, and then a kind of a mess of a game against Gen.G in a 2-0 loss there. But
Yeah,
this team is where they're at and who they are. They are 4th to 5th best, maybe.
it looks like they might just be at the edge of the legend group, just like they were last year. And that's okay. That's a pretty strong place to be, especially with this roster it's not a super team, but it's not budget, right? Like it's kind of middle of the pack, right? The fact that it still has big players like Kingen and Scout and Lahens is like, all right, definitely could be a super team if you tweak the years for all those players to the exact right point on the dial. But also has Taeyun, who came off of a strong performance, right? And then Sponge, who's like pretty good, actually, surprisingly. He was really hyped up in his DRX Challengers days, but then didn't deliver until just now. So there's a lot of issues going on in Nongshim. When I watch Nongshim play, I can really feel like I physically feel, I don't want to say annoyed, but I feel like when you are, if you have like let's say like a picture on the wall and it's like slightly tilted, and like if you don't notice it, you're like, whatever, it's a picture on the wall, it's a picture of the hands, but then like once you notice it's kind of like slightly off, when every time you look at it, you're like, I really just want to like straighten that up. Like, can you just, you want to tell the person like you're visiting them, you're having a cup of tea or whatever, and you're like, I always gotta tell them like that picture's it's a little off to the side. It's really bothering me. That's kind of how I feel when I watch Nongshim games. Like I feel like I'm watching Scout. I'm like, you're side laning. You need to come now. Needed to teleport now. Needed to okay, now you're the fight is already lost. Or like the same for Kingen. Or sometimes like Taeyun going into fights by himself and then like have to flash away right away. I'm like, no, just like wait for he's TPing in now. Like then you can fight. Like it just feels like they all know what they're supposed to do, but they're like doing it at the wrong time, or they're like doing it too greedily, or they're like playing too conservatively when they need to be aggressive. And like it'll happen in the mid game or like towards the beginning of the late game where they'll mess it up. We're like, wow, they had the early laning phase. They did great in the 2v2. Lahens had a great roam. Like he got a kill in the mid lane. Scout's ahead. Scout side laning really well. They'll get to a dragon fight and they just are like, nope, I don't know what to do. It's all like, they just get completely aced, and you're like, well, what the hell was that? Like, you have played a great early game. You had all the tools. You had all the pieces. And, like, it's like then, Scout is like, the bishop goes straight like the rook. I'm like, no, the bishop goes diagonally. Like, this, Scout. Like, what are you doing? Why'd you just forget how to play the game in the middle of the game?
So, to me, this is... It reminds me of when you're playing games with your friend. Let's say your first time playing League, and you've got one friend who knows a lot, and he's like, all right, 4 of you don't know anything. That's okay. I'll shot call. We'll carry you through, right? This is the listen to your Hyung limit. Your Hyung only has so many attention points. And it feels like when he focuses his attention points, it's good. But that's why the TP's late. That's why it's like, okay, we got to go to Drake. And Taeyun's like, I'm going to Drake. It's like, no, not you first. And then he's like, oh, my bad, flash out. Now I don't have it for the fight.
Yes.
It literally just seems like that's what happened. This team is like, okay, Scout's in. Maybe Scout will bring us some shot calling. Maybe Lahens will share a little bit. And then LCK Cup happened and they didn't play well. And they're like, nope, this is Lahens' team. We're going to do the Lahens thing. Now they're doing the Lahens thing against bad teams. He's like, okay, I don't have to focus as much. I don't have to, multitask as much. And then it's like he's reached the limit of his multitasking and everyone generally knows what to do, but generally isn't close enough at the LCK when everyone's on top of it. And they just keep making these janky mistakes. And if you're a fan of the team, or maybe you don't know the roster, you're like, wow, they're really close. They're going to get it together. But the team, the fans that know this team are like, They've been like this for a while. What's the consistent? Listening to your young. That's the consistent. And it feels frustrating. That's why Wolf and I harp on it. That's why, you look to the start of the season that they had and you're like, I don't know, they need to prove it. And this was the week to prove it. And they just proved they are who we thought they. A tapped out team that follows their young, because that kind of personality bends the will to it, whether or not they mean to or not. It is almost like Doublelift-esque, where I bet people just defaulted to Doublelift because he was Doublelift, but Doublelift didn't always want to be the shot caller at the time or be the guy, but he had the persona and the aura of being the guy. And so
it just looks like these players, Kanavi would love to have these players on his team. Like, everything I say,
That's so good. But yeah, like it's really interesting when I framed it that way. I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. And I just don't like believing in this team, because if they get capped out by a team that's stronger than them, Lahens doesn't have the attention points to do it, and they haven't built in the team autonomy to allow independent decision making.
Their independent decision making is very bad. Like that's the TLDR. Like, yes, we could talk about Lahens and how much he pulls them around, but he like runs out of energy. But it's because they all have independently bad decision making. It feels like Lahens is like, let's go to Dragon, and Scout's like, okay, noted, but I am going to get 2 more waves. Yeah, and then when I said let's go to Dragon, like, I mean let's go to Dragon, like right now. I need to be threatening on flanks. You're LeBlanc. I need you to have a ward in that bush. And he's just like, no, you guys just poke him. I'll clean up the fight as LeBlanc after it's over. Obviously this is not how the comms are working, but like this may be how Scout's brain is working, where he's like, if I just get 1 more item, like I could really carry this game. Whereas it's like, well, if you also just showed up to the team fight, zone the enemies out, you get the dragon, you probably get a kill, you get more money, you go back to silent and get more money anyways. But he's like, I need another wave. I might get another wave. Maybe 2 more waves. Maybe another turret plate. That's kind of like the frustration I had in that series against Hanwha, especially, more than their series against Gen.G. It was just like some stuff like that. Also, like there was a moment in that series against Hanwha where they went, like Sponge went bottom lane and King like got ganked and had to flash, and like Kanavi was like he was missing and they had a full vision of the bottom side, and King was like, he was like, I guess I'll push up. I'm like, are you guys not telling him, like, I'm pretty sure he's top side because I've checked bottom side and he's not there, so you probably need to be careful. Just some moments like that where it just doesn't feel like there's communication happening. The Sponge is not sharing with Kingen, or is just assuming Kingen is watching the minimap and assumes Kingen is a veteran, assumes he knows, but he doesn't because there's a little greed there. Just like, they know how to play the video game. I promise. Like, I know it. I know they can do it. They just turn their brains off sometimes, it feels like. And that's why I said, like, it makes me mad. Like, it makes me frustrated. It's like I can see the painting is askew because I'm like, can you guys just go like this? And then it's fine. You guys could be like a top 3 team. Like, maybe top 3 is a bit strong, but you could beat top 3 teams every now and then, right? Like, they could have beaten Hanwha. They could have done it if they just fixed the painting. Like, put it up straight. Like, please just come to the team fight, Scout. Please.
Well, that leads us to predictions for this upcoming week. They are playing T1. And Nongshim have upset T1 in the past when they were in the Legend group. They were able to get some wins off of them. But I don't know. I think that's going to happen this time. Let's get into our predictions, Mr. 10 out of 10. Back-to-back 10 out of 10s, Wolf? Crazy.
Yeah, no one's ever done that before. No one's ever done it before.
Historic?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna ham that up this week.
Pretty sure no one's ever done it. Yeah, just give me my crown now. My week 2 was quite impressive. Week 1 was pretty simple. Like I knew the whole time Dplus was going to beat T1. It's pretty obvious, but this week is tough. This week's got the bangers. This week is like, we have to have the shit weeks like we just had to have these banger weeks, right? Where it's the tick of the round. So we move into round 2 here. And we end up getting, as a result, some matchups we've already had, like the rematch of Gen.G versus Dplus that we're going to have, Hanwha Life Esports versus T1 rematch, and KT versus Bro rematch, where maybe Bro could turn it around and play the game this time. Okay, that one's not the hype one, but there
the
are
hype
other
one for me.
matches.
Yeah,
DNS
the dark
Bro.
horse. No. I mean, yes, that is the battle of the week, the suck fest. But no, my dark horse favorite rivalry is BNK versus Dplus. Like, those have produced over the last 2 years that I've been here, they've produced some of the biggest showmaker heartbreaks. 3-game series bangers. Like, they have done that. And I am excited to see it yet again. So let's dive into it. Week 5, official predictions. They requested it yesterday for us
Yeah, I
on
haven't put mine
Monday.
in yet.
Be like, all right, put in your predictions. Did you put yours in?
No, I haven't put them in yet because
Yeah, I didn't
like had to
either.
think
Wolf
about it.
didn't do it, so I didn't do it. So I was like, all right, we'll do it live here. Live predictions. So if you're watching and you love our prediction segment, shitting on us, we love it too. We love it too, to the point where we might get in trouble with work. Nongshim versus T1, and then KT versus Hanwha.
These are two tough ones. My gut feeling before I watched Nongshim versus Hanwha, which might sound funny to a lot of people because they almost beat Hanwha, that was the only 3-game series of the entire week, was like maybe Nongshim actually beat T1 in week 5. And then after watching that series against Hanwha, I'm like, nah, I don't think so. I think they're going to run into the same problems. T1's going to outplay them. Keria's going to outplay them in the late game. I'm gonna lock in T1, even though I know that it could go wrong. I know that it could go wrong. I'm gonna lock that one in.
Yeah, we don't normally have the predictable week like we did last week, especially when it's even more complicated than last week. But I like your call here of like, this could be the oops. Give me T1 though. And then I think the 3 big matches this week. This is probably the biggest match of the week. KT versus Hanwha. This is the battle for first.
100%. 100%. Tomorrow is the banger day. Okay, so I've been thinking about this one a lot. I've been thinking about this one for like 2 weeks, right? Because it's been leaning towards, like, ever since Hanwha were good, it's been leaning towards, okay, this team is going to be maybe the best team. Like, they might surpass KT. But watching both the teams, how they play, how KT plays around dragons, how Hanwha Life Esports plays around pressure, how they play around bottom side, how they dive between turrets. And I think it's a bad matchup for Hanwha. I also think right now, if I were to predict a champion of this tournament, I would probably predict Hanwha, not KT. Like, if I had to pick one right now, or let's say first seed for Road to MSI is really what I mean. Like, if we had like almost like a spring winner, like the best team I would predict right now to be Hanwha Life. But I think it's a bad matchup for them because KT plays slow. They play defensively. They wait for opportunities, and it feels like Hanwha Life Esports just go, and they are so good at their execution is so crisp. But I think KT will kind of just be able to weather the storm and defend their aggression and turn it into wins and punish some of the potential overextensions. I think it's going to be a 3-gamer, but I think KT will win. I think Cousin BDD will win out. I think they'll be very careful. I also think that we're going to find out that Perfect is in fact the best top laner in the LCK right now. I'm ready to see it. So I'm putting KT in, and I'm it's not just for the memes, it's not just because everyone knows I love KT. I think it's a good matchup for KT into Hanwha. I think it's a bad matchup for Hanwha into KT because of the defensive and slow way that KT play. KT are very measured with how they play, and Hanwha Life Esports I think will just kind of slam into the brick wall. You know what I mean? It's kind of like Hanwha is scissors, but KT is rock. It feels like for me in this matchup. If you think about it that way.
Well, I was thinking about it the Najin way. It's the sword versus the shield. And that is actually what Kanavi said in content earlier. LPL is the sword, Keria is the shield, but the shield's been pretty good lately. Damn it, man. I was KT before today, and today I'm Hanwha. I keep flip-flopping. Once we lock it in, we don't flip-flop. I just feel like they're functioning on such good levels now. My biggest concern is not keeping BDD in check. I think everywhere else, I like the aggression, and I like the chances of seeing if effort can navigate the KT squad against all the aggressive questions and playmaking that's going to happen from Hanwha side, the proactivity, because we know they're going to be the proactive squad. And also, I think if they would have played 2 weeks ago, I think Perfect was clearly better than Zeus right now. But I think Zeus had a good last 4 games, 2 weeks. And so maybe there's someone who can finally punish him and just don't let him play Vayne. No more Exhaust Vayne. No, Exhaust Vayne is too OP. So I'm going Hanwha. Give me Hanwha.
Okay. I think it's a tough one. I think both Preds are completely viable.
Flip a coin. Gen.G versus QM.
Gen.G.
Sad QM.
Gen.G.
Yeah,
Gen.G.
let's just
Bye QM. Nope.
bye QM. We won't even give it consideration. Easy Hoon is
We might have a conversation
lazy
with
field.
Nongshim later. But maybe not right now. BNK Dplus. Dplus.
Really? No
I think
way,
so.
dude. This always provides the bangers, dude. It always provides the banger.
It's
I'm
tough.
going
It's
off of
tough
history, though.
because it's tough because I think Daystar, if he's leveled up enough, if he had to have been leveled up enough, which I think he hasn't, then like this could be the win for them. But I still think that the momentum is against him, right? They lost at the last Homeground match against T1. I think that this is a matchup that he may like get a solo kill and a showmaker for, but then won't be able to find impact with his gold league, type of game. It feels like to me. I think Shiu is worse than Clear actually right now. I know that's probably going to come off as a controversial opinion, but I think Clear is better than Shiu right now. But I otherwise just kind of feel like Diable is way too inconsistent. Like he and Raptor are getting up to whatever they're going to get up to. And what they have gotten up to recently has been no good, basically. It's been overextending. It's been leaving Kellen behind. It's been going in and flashing out. It's been flashing in and dying. It's been re-engaging at the wrong moments. I don't trust either of these teams to be good, but I think the floor seems higher for Dplus right now. But it is like a toss-up what's going to happen on the day. Like you're saying, like these two teams just fly by the seat of their pants every time, especially recently. But I'm gonna go Dplus. I give them a little bit more faith here.
Talk me into it. Also, I just remembered how frustrating that bot lane has been lately. And this is like another career builder for Career. So let's get Career his first or second POM. I don't think he's do. Chiwu, Lucid,
No,
Showmaker,
he's never
Smash.
gonna POM.
Career POM, Justice for Supports. All right. Career. You talked me to it. Now, time for the battle that everyone has been waiting for. The last game. I think it's the last. The last game of round
It is.
1. It's the Suck Fest. It's the DN Automotive Suckers against Hanjin Bro Suck.
Bro overrated.
Hanjin Broverrated. Nice. That one's good.
Well, I mean, that's for me. Like my whole thing with them is, they're good, they're good. Don't worry, guys. No, I've been overrating them, perhaps, but I think it's a bro pred. I think it's a bro pred.
No, I unironically think this is a bad matchup for Bro. I'm going to pick Bro because I have to pick Bro because I'm not picking him against KT. But unironically, I think this is a bad matchup. I don't think Gideon's going to do well with Pioshik's aggression. I think Closer knows the org, maybe not the players of the team, but the org. But I think Closer is solid enough and is probably ready to go after seeing what Romer did to Faker, so that you're not going to get a smashing lead there. I think you have to play casting versus Doodoo as your that's where we're going to send the aggression early bot lane. Just pick Ezreal and scale.
But what about
I am worried about.
But what about the uptrend of Namgung and the side trend of DNS just picking random supports and it's Quantum now, and he's doing fine, but like the team has issues. I just don't have any faith in what DNS is putting out right now. Like I don't have any faith in Pyosik to be consistent anymore, even though he was in the very beginning and was in LCK Cup. I was like, Pyosik's pretty good, by the way. Well, he's not right now. And everyone's like, I told you, Wolf, he's always inconsistent. No, he wasn't, but he is now inconsistent again, yes. Closer, arguably the best part of this team, to me. Doo-doo, inconsistent. Don't trust it. Don't trust it. And then what are you left with? Like a bottom lane that doesn't even know, like the players don't even know each other necessarily? Yeah, I can't. After what Bro did to T1 and after all the times Bro almost did the right thing in my heart and almost got the win I think they're supposed to get. Surely this time they'll do it. Surely this time against a weaker opponent. I'm locking in
Are
the
they
Bros.
due? They're due?
I think they're due. I think it's happening. I'm putting in HANJIN BRION here.
All right, HANJIN BRION. A 2 for. And then the second biggest game of the week. Again,
Sounds like a
Hanwha.
banger. Sounds
Yeah,
like a
dude.
banger. Actually, kind of a
Hanwha.
sleeper. I'm putting HLE in. I don't think T1
Hanwha.
are going to have a chance.
That's crazy.
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think T1 are good enough to beat Hanwha right now.
I mean, they did it last time.
Yeah, last time though, remember was when we were like, when I was like, I just don't think these players can change their play style. I think this team might be a Rise group team. Yeah, that's how long ago the last time they faced off against each other was.
Damn, that's crazy. Give me the T1 magic. T1 magic. I just think that they playing together, getting a warm-up game against Nongshim, I think they can in a way that KT cannot. Also, I think Keria is going to take over the team. He's going to be there when Kanavi's like, I'm in your jungle. They're going to be like, we know Keria's here. I feel it. T1.
This
Gen.G
one is
Dplus.
interesting because this was where Dplus won last time. Gen.G had a lot of issues. Gen.G still kind of have a lot of issues.
Yep.
Looked a little bit better against Nongshim, but not convincing. And I predicted, Dplus to beat BNK. Going to be coming off of a win there. This one is tricky because you can just say, well, Gen.G are back and just blindly trust that. You can do that. Or you can look at the history of this entirety of this tournament and be like, well, one win against Nongshim, is that really where we go? Ha, I guess they're back. But Wolf, they're on a 4-game winning streak after also beating DNS SOOPers. Like, well, I'm still kind of like not sure if ready to trust right now. I want to believe. I want to say I think that Gen.G can get this done and that they should win 2-0 and we're back to starting a new northern front. The new wall will be built, erected, denying Dplus entering for 23 more series. But it's hard. It's hard for me to believe it. It's hard for me to trust that.
A lot of rubble from the old wall to be able to build it.
But when I think about Keen versus Shiu, that's when I'm like, yeah, maybe Gen.G do get it done this time.
Just how many bad games are you going to have out of Chovy Ruler at the same time? I don't think a lot. And
how many Canyon bad games could you have? It's like, well,
that's a good that's a good point. That's a good point.
That's like, for me, the whole problem with Gen.G is that they play too confidently, even though they won 4 games in a row, right, against weaker opponents. I think I am gonna go Gen.G, but I don't like it, and I don't fully trust it. Do I want to go Gen.G? Oh, this is so tough. This is actually tougher than Hanwha KT for me. Because it's hard for me to actually make an opinion about who I think is better. It's more about who I think will mess it up. You know what I mean? In this match, I'm like, who will make more mistakes rather than, oh, there's a stylistic issue here, or this jungle matchup is better than this one, or the support matchup is better than the other, or like, oh yes, Dplus won last time, so they'll win again. It's hard for me to logic through this. I feel like I'm just guessing. And I guess if you're just guessing, which is always the way the POM thing, you just always guess Chovy, and you just go, well, I'm sure he'll get it done. It's not an international event. It'll be fine. So fine, I'll put Gen.G down, but I don't like it because I don't want to put either of them down.
You ruined me because you talked me into Dplus. You talked me into Dplus. I flipped. I had Gen.G written
Was
down.
it the Canyon? Was it
I
the
moved
Canyon?
to Dplus just because when you're like, who is going to throw it the most? Well, who has thrown it the most out of all 10 of those players? It has been Kenyon. Kenyon has had the stinker. And Chovy's had quiet game. And Showmaker always has quiet game. They win despite his quiet game. So I'm trying to be the guy that isn't going off of, well, it's T1 or, well, it's Gen.G. Well, it's Hanwha. Like, I want to analyze these victories and the matchups where they're at now and where they stand now. And so I think Dplus is the more informed team. And showing off the Alawi earlier and getting just another wrinkle to think about, I think, is like a cool thing. It's showing Dplus are willing to continue to grow and move so that they realize doing the same thing and trying to be better than them in the same ways hasn't worked in the last 4 years. You got to let the kids play. You got to let them play what they want to and pick out these sneaky picks. Because if you see what BNK FearX did to T1, you see what Bro did to T1, and they did those weird drafts. They did get the advantages with worse players. If you're Dplus and you think you have like class players, let them get those weird things and then beat Gen.G and T1 when they're vulnerable. So give me Dplus.
Wow.
And then we pick Nongshim over QMDRX as we
yeah,
send
no,
QMDRX to Vietnam.
sorry. QMDRX. I just I'm not. Can't do it. Can't do it right now. Can't even. I didn't even want to explain why I think you're gonna lose because I've done it for like the last 2 weeks and I don't want to do it anymore. I feel bad for you.
Hardest part is those are the last 2 games here in Korea before they go to Vietnam for the home state.
Yeah.
So
Where then it gets harder, by the way. It gets harder.
Little Gen.G Hanwha action. Hopefully the Gen.G Hanwha fans show up huge over in Vietnam because I mean, LCK has asked for parity, which is why T1 just doesn't do a homestand every week or buy a stadium with SKT money and, just only play there. And so DRX has the opportunity this time to tap into that Vietnamese fan base. They were sending players out to Vietnam last year and had a good reception. Just please, let's find camera angles that look good. Let's find camera angles that look good. I don't want to see too many empty seats. Empty seats, okay.
That's what people said about Hong Kong, and that Hong Kong didn't have any empty seats.
Okay.
So, well, let's wait and see. I know there's a lot of talk about ticket sales and stuff like that, and it's not looking great, but I do think that this is the type of opportunity that you and I tweeted about when Hong Kong was announced. So, we're going to be talking about it on this show at length, how it goes, what it looks like, obviously neither of us will be there this time, but like what does it look like on camera, what does the vibe feel like, and we'll be talking to people who did go there, so we'll give you guys the what's the word I'm looking for here, just the overview of like what happened with it, was it successful, etc. So look forward to that. But I'm optimistic about that event, even if QMDRX get 4-0'd, which is what I will probably be predicting. I could probably lock it in right now, but yeah. Anyway, we digressed into talking about QMDRX into Nongshim in a matchup that we don't want to talk about it. Lock in Nongshim. Let's go next.
Yeah, let's wrap up the show with KT Bro and the SOOPers versus the Fox BNK FearX.
It's KT versus Bro. It's KT. That's pretty straightforward. KT, if they beat Hanwha, will then be what, 11-0, or is it 9-0? I'm sorry, no, it'll be 10-0 if they beat them. If I'm not mistaken. If they beat
Hanwha and Bro, yes, they'll be 10-0.
So like they'll be 10-0 if they beat Bro, and that's my predictions, right? Like pretty crazy to think, but that is that's where we're at. I just don't think Bro can scratch the surface here. They didn't even really get to last hit the minions in their last series against KT. I think it won't be that one-sided, but it'll be one-sided. Sorry for the Bros.
Yeah. I just want to see some life because they got like sleeper gripped to death last time they played against KT. And then the Supers versus Foxes.
Gotta go Foxes. I don't. I mentioned all the issues with the Foxes, right? We mentioned the issue with BNK in the matchup against Dplus, which is why I ultimately went for Dplus. But we also mentioned the issues that DNS have, which I think this matchup's kind of a toss-up. Like, it certainly could go either way. It's the one that's at the very end of the week. For Bro, it's a little bit closer to their previous matchup on Friday. For BNK, they have an extra day, but they're, in my mind, coming off of a loss, so anything can happen there. Sorry, I said Bro. DNS play against Bro on Friday, 2 days before, so they play 2 closer matches back to back. Whereas BNK have that extra day. Yeah, I'm just gonna go BNK here. I don't have faith that the Supers and whoever their support is are gonna turn around this week. Now, if they do turn around, like Life shows up, and this could be the week where DNS beats both of these teams, which are winnable matchups, because Life comes in, they're like, you know what, Life's our guy now, and we actually lock it in the same way like Effort came in suddenly, and they locked that in on KT. The same way Daystar has been locked in, right? These types of things. Roamer, who knows? Like, it's still a bit early for that, but we might see Roamer 2 more matches they decide to go with. But this might be the moment where DNS turns it around. But I can't predict that's going to happen, right? I can't tell you guys, like, this will be it. They'll turn it around this week. But it might be. So if you're a DNS fan, maybe hold on to that hope.
There you go. That is our predictions for this week. Way more volatile than last week. Sorry, I'm BNK FearX as well. Way more volatile than last week. So expecting more action and more coverage. Maybe some of the games as we wrap up round 1 next week. And then next episode also we'll be prepping for the Vietnam. I think theirs was called Homefront. Kiwoom DRX Homefront. I mean, it won't be so great for Kiwoom, but it'll be great for the fans of Vietnam. We'll have all that coverage for you next week. On behalf of everyone here, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and subscribe to the newsletter. It's coming your way. It's all the stuff that you want. If you're thinking, wow, that sounds pretty cool, take the second now. 10 seconds. We'll wait with you. We're waiting. You've now clicked on the link. Okay. Hit subscribe. Well, put in your email, then hit subscribe. Boom, done. Easy peasy. That's how my brain works.
Good job, guy in the comments. You did a good job.
You did.
It wasn't so hard. I'll wait for the rewards to come in every Thursday.
Yeah. And when you're in those comments, wish Wolf luck with his move and unpacking. He finished his move. He's unpacking, still made time for the show.
It's a disaster in here, as you guys might sort of be able to tell. I'm trying to hide as much of it as I can. The rest of the house is great. The rest of the house is great. This room is the most complicated one because I have so many wires to plug, and I only have one outlet. But think about all the tech I have. You've seen the tech I have in my room, dGon. There's only one outlet, so it's basically like power strips that I got to be set up and everything. It's gonna be rough, but like, it'll look nice behind me one day. I promise. It won't just be chairs and monitors on a stand that are covered in dust. Yeah.
Send him the good wishes, and we'll take them as we go through next week. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.